Hi boys and girls, and welcome to this week's virtual assembly. We will start off with our Seesaw Superstars from this week, followed by our choice of the week. We then have some French with Miss Healy and another little video to share with you all about the second Sunday of Lent, as well as our Lenten 40 Ways for 40 Days video. Primary 5, 6 and 7 were very lucky to take part in the Deco Comics workshops last week with Rosie, and they've made a book creator to share with you this week. And finally, we'll finish off with some St Patrick's themed body percussion. So let's get started. So we're now moving on to our choice of the week. It could be a joke or a random fact. And on this day in or a news story from around the world, it might be a quote of the week or a sports fact, or it could be a movie or music clip or a Guess Who. And this week we have a news story from around the world.
I am Oakley and this is Layla. We are change champs and we are going to have lunch with John. John knows a lot about how we can look after the environment by not wasting food. This food is really delicious, but we are wondering what will happen to all of our leftovers. We are hoping John can tell us.
You know, there's some really great ways that we can deal with our leftover food. And the great news is that the food waste can actually help the environment if we get rid of the food waste correctly.
Our tummies are starting to get full, so maybe it's time to stop eating.
I'm going to give you a surprise mission. Oakley, you can open it.
Thank you. Your mission is to find 3 ways to stop food from being wasted in a way that helps the planet.
What different kinds of food waste can you think of?
Carrot peeling, potato skin and chicken eggshells. Banana skin.
Okay team, to help you with your mission, I'm going to give you 3 important tips. Tip number 1, we can prevent food waste by only buying the things that we need.
We already did this when we were shopping. We made a list and we thought about how much we would need and didn't buy too much.
Tip number 2, there's lots of food people throw away which can actually be eaten. Stale bread can be turned into breadcrumbs or croutons for soup, and potato peelings can be baked and eaten like crisps. And some leftovers can be stored and saved for another day.
We were wondering what can be done with these leftovers.
We've got some fabric that what we do is we put some beeswax over it, melt it into the fabric, and it makes it kind of like you can wrap it around things.
We definitely shouldn't throw away the cake. This can be eaten another day. The melon, the carrots and the cucumber too.
Okay, that's really great. Look at all the food that we're saving from going into the food waste. Shall we put it in the fridge for another day? Great, come and help me. Can you reach up there? Come in there. That's it. Okay, ready? Last tip. Any food waste which can't be eaten can instead be used in compost or sent for recycling. Can anyone see any more food waste?
Well, there's carrot peelings, and there's lemon, and there's potato skin. And eggshells.
Well done, change champs. Okay, let's get it ready. So, something you can do with eggshells, if you crush them up, they're really good for the compost, but they can take a long time to break down for all the nutrients and things to come out of it, and we'll put them in the compost. Okay, the great thing is, when we put this into the composter, very tiny living things called microorganisms will break down all this food and waste, turning it into compost. It takes a bit of time, but eventually I'll be able to use the compost in my garden to help my plants grow. So, what are we left with?
Well, we're left with bread, chicken, cheese and ham.
Right, now this can't go in my composter in the garden. So, what are we going to do with it?
We put it in this.
Absolutely right. The council refuse collectors will take it all away and join all this food waste with everyone else's, and then either turn it into products that can improve the soil or use the gases made by the waste as fuel for electricity.
We have learnt so much about food waste and how to use compost and recycling bins. We can all be change champs.
Bonjour tout le monde! Les Français aiment beaucoup la nourriture. Cette semaine, nous allons découvrir la culture de manger en France. Après, je vous pose quelques questions. Bonne chance! Au revoir, à bientôt!
So last Sunday was the second Sunday of Lent, and we hope you've enjoyed watching our Lenten videos this week. We're now going to watch a little video all about the second Sunday of Lent, and we're going to watch today's video of our 40 ways for 40 days.
This Sunday is the second week of the season of Lent. Today we hear an important story from the book of Genesis that has to do with faith. In the first reading, we hear about a good man who loved God called Abraham. God often spoke to Abraham, but one day God told Abraham to do something scary. He told Abraham that he must offer his son Isaac as a sacrifice to God. Abraham was very sad and confused, but he agreed to do what God told him because he trusted God with his whole heart. Just as Abraham was about to give up his son, God sent an angel to stop Abraham. God made a promise to reward him for his faith, saying, "I will bless you abundantly because you obeyed my command." Obeying can be really hard. We all want to do what we want and not what we are told, but we must learn to obey, trust, and most of all, love God. For this, we need faith because God loves us, and He was willing to do the same thing He asked Abraham to do. God gives up His own Son, Jesus, as a sacrifice for us. In the Gospel, another really strange and wonderful thing happens. Jesus hikes up a mountain with His disciples, and suddenly His body and clothing begin to glow with light and God's glory. The disciples hear the voice of God say, "This is my beloved Son, listen to Him." Jesus was transfigured. Transfiguration means a complete change in appearance into a more glorious or spiritual one. This is important because this moment shows that Jesus is human and God. This means that Jesus is someone who understands and whom we should love and trust with our whole hearts. So this week, although we don't understand everything that God tells us to do, let's trust God and do what He commands, always remembering that He loves us.
So last week, primary 5, 6 and 7 were very, very lucky because they got to take part in some workshops, and the workshops were hosted by Rosie from Deco Comics. Thank you to Mrs. O'Neill for organising this super visitor that came along to do amazing things with our children. And to share what they did, they have made a lovely book creator that they wanted to share in this week's assembly.
He helped us learn, because when he was in school, high school, he didn't have these experiences because he don't know exams and everything. And he said he taught us that learning is not all about doubting yourself. Learning is fun at the same time. He helped me make this drama thing I did.
We had one of the top people from Deco Comics come to our school. I think it was a really good idea. I think it helped us with our learning. It will help others try and understand stuff better. And it was just a fun experience overall. We made our own comics, mainly about pi, like the number. It was quite fun. It's quite educational, but it's still good to read, and you're learning without even realising it. So yeah, I think it was a good idea to have them visit.
I think Ross coming to class was a good experience to teach us how to make learning more fun and enjoyable. So I think that we should do this more often.
Hello, my name is Ahmed and this is Rian. And we created a comic with the one and only Ross, who created Deco Comics, which is about learning. He thought it was a fun idea to make learning fun, so then he made all of these comics. So technically, even if you have a problem with it, you can still learn anything. This is our comics about bullying, anti-bullying online. You shouldn't bully online anyway. That's why it has a twist at the end. And I think it was a really good idea that Ross came in, because I think comics are a fun way to learn and create things, because they're more fun, pictures, more reading, and it can also teach you lots. Thank you, Ross.
So then he basically told us to do our own, about any subject. And then we started doing our own names. I did 19 tables, and some people did verbs and literacy. And then after we was showing off what we was doing in there.
So when the answer came, he told us that he had dyslexia and he failed everything. And he told us that we can make a picture, a map, a comic of anything, but it has to do with learning. So I made a rap, and he said that if he has nobody's dumb, because if he has dyslexia and he's also able to get A in his test, then nobody's dumb. So I made a little rap, and I just did, and I created some actions like running, spinning, dancing, and jogging. So that's what.
Could you read us your rap?
Okay. It's me, Second, and today I'm going to be making a rap about birds. Oh yeah. Birds are very interesting. Yeah, there's different types of birds. If you want a sample, I'll show you one. Yeah, birds are like running, spinning, dancing, and jogging. Doing everything that includes birds. Yeah. So birds are the best, and if you like my rap, you can make yours too.
Wait a minute.
I was stuck in the 19 tables a lot, and then I did this and then one was down.
So when Rossi came, he told us you could work with anyone, like a friend or something. And he said you can make anything you want, but it has to involve something that's a school subject. So me and my friend done a math subject. So we just based it on like drama acting. And my friend is struggling with 8 times table, so we thought, okay, let's try make an acting dramatic thing about 8 times tables.
Was it helpful?
Yes.
How did it help you?
It helped because it's a more fun way to learn. Like some people just find learning their maths so boring, but it's a fun way to learn your.
Wait a minute. Right, when you go, Arvin.
Okay, so there's 2 people playing football, and he said, "What? Hey, what's 3 times 1? It's 3, dum dum." And oh my! And the guy that was chasing me, and he said, "Oh my! I think I did the splits." Ha 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 ha. And
Guys, remember
the
your
person said,
comic
"Ha, ha, ha."
has to have
How did you
education in
do
it.
6
It can't just be a
slaps?
comic, it has to have something.
The best poop.
Um,
So he basically pooped on him. And he basically hit him in the middle. He said I did karate 9 times a day.
Hold on.
Same like him, but I'm changing it. It's different.
Start from the beginning then.
Okay. The Hatman says, "What's a verb?" And Spiky Hairman says, "Kicking." And then the person with the hat flies up to the sky and comes back down and starts chasing the person with the spiky hair and says, "You better run." And the person with the spiky hair says, and then I don't know.
Okay, well done, Johannes.
I'm still thinking what happens next. I have so many choices, and they're all so good.
Okay. Okay, I'm on the board. You tell me.
This man, the hat man, says, "What's a verb?" Then the man who has a spike hair, he kicks him. Then he says, "You better run." Then he crashes into a tree. Then he says, "No." Then he says, "Oh." Then the man who has a hat on top of him, he says, "Ha ha ha, go." And he's down there, the spiky hair, he's on an ambulance. And down there, he's at the doctor. There's the hat man.
Excellent. So where are you going to go next with this?
When the spiky hair man gets stopped in, he's there, and I'm gonna punch the hat man.
Okay, lovely. Well done.
very good. Yes. Excellent work, guys. There's a good story going on there.
Right.
Biology, and he's the dumb one, and he's
That's
like
very
a
good.
flubber, and he's like, "What?"
Gary's
And
done a
he's
great
saying,
tip
"What's
here, guys.
biology?"
If you're trying
And
to
he
learn
says,
verbs and nouns and stuff, there's
"Living
actually some
things,"
comics in the
and
dental
he
comics on
says,
your
"What's
desk
living
that teach you
things?"
about those. So you
And then
can
he
use those
grabs
direct ones.
TNT, and he says,
you've got a mental
"Shoot
health
this," and he says,
But that's still left.
and he can't see anything, and he's like, "Duh." And then he's gonna run away with the TNT, and it's gonna explode on him.
Well done. A good storyboard from the two of you. Well done.
I'm Harifa, and we were learning about Deca comics, and Rossi came to our class and gave us, asked us if we could make some comics, and we made some comics, and I got inspired by his comics because it was educational for everyone to do and learn.
Hello, man. I like the Deca comics because it's fun and it has education inside of it, like maths, geography, like even verbs.
And what about Rosie coming to school? How did you like that?
I liked it because he How I like to make comics with Rossi.
And what were you learning from Rossi?
I think Rossi's comics were inspiring because you could learn some information from them, and I found how he taught us to make books and comic books inspiring, because we had to do things, then we had to put in a twist, and the twist was put a learning theme in it.
Would you like to show us yours? Would you like to tell us about it?
So the first thing that happened, so that guy said, what is a verb? Then I shoot you with a P90 47, and shoot is the verb there. You don't run. I have a RPG for a revenge. Then run is the verb there. Then that's it.
I like Rossi's comics and they were very fun making.
Thank you, Rossi and Deco Comics. What an inspiration you are.
So we know you have been enjoying our body percussion challenges for the last part of our assemblies, and because yesterday was St Patrick's Day, we have an Irish themed body percussion challenge for you this week. So stand up, find a space, and we hope you enjoy taking part.